Well, it's because you have so many kids. Kids will keep you busy. Where you at? Busy. What's that?
Okay, you're good. Meeting to order, yes, all rise, the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Buddy, I would like first order of business to be a moment of silence. We lost a couple of town residents. Mary Knapp, very long time resident, family here for generations. Jeff Wiegand. And also, I just want also to take a moment for all of us to have a moment of silence for the family whose children were stabbed and whose mother is dead. Doesn't need to have names said, but the trauma of that event, or not just the family, but the friends, the neighbors, the EMTs, everyone in this town that was affected. So if we could have a moment of silence for those reasons, I would appreciate it. Thanks a lot. First order of business would be accountant's report. And when we get to the budget modification, I want to take a moment before we do that.
Okay. Relatively quiet month. Still quite a bit of money in the I-class account. Brought in almost 11,500 in interest there. Continuing to work on uses for the ARPA fund, the federal stimulus money that we have, currently about $683,000. We did bring in $81,350 in mortgage tax last month, which is down quite a bit from the last time, about $40,000 lower. Outside of that, fairly quiet. So pick up with the budget modification there for now.
Yeah, we have a bank reconciliation. The town supervisors, I think everybody signed. Maintain a motion.
I'll make a motion to accept the supervisor's monthly report for July.
Not monthly report, the bank, just the bank.
Bank, oh, all right, bank records.
Oh, I forgot about the monthly report too. You're right.
Bank, the monthly report.
Okay, so everybody.
I'll second it.
Okay. Sorry about that, guys. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion is carried. Now the bank
I'll make
reconciliation.
that motion to accept the bank reconciliation for July.
I'll second it.
Okay. Discussion. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed, motion carried. Now, on the budget mod, the reason I wanted to take a minute is because the reason we need to do that is it is tied to something that the highway purchase with the highway department that they need to make. And so we have a voucher here that we haven't signed yet because we need to, I guess, we approved the purchase, but it was at a lower cost.
Right, believe for title and tags.
They didn't include title and tax. So now when it's come time for delivery, there's title and tax. So we're about $1,200 short of which is the budget modification. So my question is, do we need to do a motion to amend the purchase price to approve that? Or can we do this budget transfer first, or does it not matter?
I don't think it matters. I mean, if you probably want to do the budget transfer first, and then you can approve the purchase at the higher cost.
Okay.
The higher price.
Okay.
So the budget modification is increasing DA 5130.23, which is equipment pickup truck, by $51,097.50. This will be funded by insurance recoveries, $49,880. That was from the previous truck was totaled. And the shortfall of $1,217.50 is going to come from the equipment line that we had budgeted for the purchase of a new sweeper. That line item was over budgeted by about $8,000. So there's some room to draw from there.
Okay.
I'd like to.
I would make a motion that to accept the budget modification as everybody's got the written version of it as represented by the town and as well as in the written version.
I'll second it.
Judy seconded, any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed, motion carries. All right. We can do the, because VR is not, I should have mentioned that VR is not with us tonight, obviously. But he's not here. In his stead, he has asked that since the May approval was based on a lower amount, by the 50,000 change, and it's now 51,097.5, I would make a motion for to approve the purchase of the vehicle, the pickup truck at the new the current amount of $51,097.50.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Proposed motion carried.
And just for the minutes, just recognize that this is going to replace the resolution that was passed in May.
The only other thing before we go on to this section, we probably, it would make sense now to think about scheduling budget workshop rather than wait till September. I talked to him about starting a little bit earlier with requesting the department's budget so that we can get going on this soon. And if there is any interest on the board as well to have a workshop before the workshop, if anybody wants to drill down on the each line item so that you understand what each line item it contains or involves or in the past has covered, it might make the budget workshop go a little smoother. So if there's interest in that, we should schedule that as well. And that would be depending on how many people want to do that. If it's at least 3 of us, then it would be open to the public. But I've always found it helpful to understand more of the budget than less. So for those who haven't really had an opportunity to drill down, I think this is going to be a really challenging year to put a budget together for 2024. Insurance rates are off the charts, whether it's health insurance or liability. Everybody's talking double digits.
I'm interested in.
So if we want to do that, I would say, and it doesn't have, it won't be, I mean, it'll be a workshop. We could do it on a Saturday morning, whenever. We could just go through each line item and understand what it includes. Some of them are going to be easy. But those contractual lines, it's like a kitchen sink. So I always found it difficult until I really understood what they involved. But typically we would do a budget workshop the last week of September. That's been the strategy. Just pull up September. Which would be the week of the 25th. So do we want to, I mean, we don't meet the first Monday of the month anymore. So there's also early October, but sometimes if we get through the budget, the tentative budget at the workshop, then we just bump it over to the, like if we need just a couple tweaking things, we'll bump it to either before or after the regular town board meeting. So I'm just wondering what everybody's calendars, you got a calendar in your forehead or something?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. I'm sure you're the only one that's like, so, what's, anybody got a preference as to?
Weekend works for me, except for the 16th.
Well, for the budget workshop itself, it would probably be like a 5 o'clock start during the week. But then
That's
if we,
gonna be late September. That's the main.
yeah,
Yes.
Is that the one we're looking at setting first, or we set?
I would set that one and then we can back into the other one.
That's gonna be an evening. That's what we're talking about.
Well, the workshop, the pre-workshop workshop could be like a Saturday morning. But I'm thinking with for the tentative budget, the one that, the budget that comes out that has every department's wish list in it. The one we start with, it would be nice to already understand what each category covers so that we can have a better sense of that. So I don't care which way we go as far as like scheduling one first and then the other. I just think that if people were interested, we could do that. Okay, so nobody's,
When do you, so when do you get?
nobody wants to deal with the budget.
No, I'm just thinking, but, when do we anticipate getting the information that we need to get started?
Well, that's why we're gonna.
Plus, they're probably gonna be done, ready to go out in the next week, I would think.
Okay. And that's probably 2 to 3 weeks earlier than we used to do it. But then that gives each department a little more time, and if we get them back, you know, you could request them back the first week of September or whatever, and then we can compile that. And we don't need the tentative budget done for the pre-workshop. That would just be more informational. So, so guys, how about Monday, the 25th at 5 p.m.? I'm just throwing out a date because nobody else is talking.
That's fine.
Yeah.
So Monday, 9:25. Now, wait a minute. I just want to make sure that's not anybody's date. 1, 2, 3, 4. 9:25 at 5 p.m. for the budget workshop.
It's a budget workshop.
So do you want to back into like a Saturday, either the 16th or the,
What time
what time?
for the budget workshop?
5 p.m.
Here on the 16th, but it does, I don't.
You're not sure you need that?
Yeah, 16th, I'm in a wedding that day.
Well, then we're not going to do that day. Is the 23rd too close to the 25th, or is it good timing to do it right before? Or is it too much town work right in quick succession?
That's pretty close. There's some like work that had to be done in between.
I mean, we can do.
But at the 9th.
We could do does the 9th work for people? I say, yeah, you want to do 9, 10, what?
9, 9, 9.
10, 3 workshop. Okay. So we will do that on 9/9 at 9 a.m.
Okay.
And hopefully shoot through that and get an idea of what's in each line. And then we'll have a better sense. The other thing I think I sent you all was sorry, I got distracted there for a minute. A spreadsheet, an Excel sheet that has the last 5 years worth of expenditures for each of our budget lines. So you can see how much we've spent over the past 5 years. If you see any patterns where we've maybe spending right where we should be, maybe we're overspending in some place, maybe we're underspending, and we don't need to spend as much. So I would take a look at that because I think it could be a good indicator of where we're at this year and where we need to be in future years, because I think we should take a little bit of a stab at coming up with some projected numbers for the next few years, just to get a sense of where we're at and what our needs are. And a lot of that will depend on VR, who's not here. So what his needs are, or the highway department's needs are. But so please look at that. It's pretty easy to follow. Just it has all the years, and you can just see where the patterns are. Okay. I think that's everything. Yep. Okay, Nikki.
Yeah, looking for board acceptance for the July 11th regular meeting minutes and the July 20th special meeting minutes. The drafts.
I would make a motion to accept both of those meeting minutes.
I'll second it.
All those discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried.
Bank reconciliation reports for July 2023 for both town clerk and tax collector accounts.
I'll make a motion to accept the bank reconciliation reports for the town clerk and tax collector.
I'll second it.
All discussion, all those in favor? Aye. Opposed, motion carried. Nikki, before you get to payment of bills, there's a couple that we're gonna hold on.
Okay.
So I don't know how do you want to know the numbers right now so that we won't be approving them right now?
Sure.
Which is 350 and 353. Voucher numbers. And then until we did, so let's sign this because we've agreed to, pay that price. So, and then 336 is the request for the conference materials, and we haven't gotten to that yet. So do you want to wait till we get there and then we can approve it all, or do you want to do it now? Well, that's 336, so,
These are highway vouchers.
yeah. Yeah. The first two I mentioned are not, but, this one. That's the one for the truck. And then this is the one for the training. Go down to it. So, I'm almost thinking, let's just address this first, since VR's not even here, and we can then approve all of the bills except those two.
Okay, so motion for the payment of bills minus those two
Yeah,
vouchers.
yeah, so let's address this, because there is a request, I think you've all seen, you've got it in your folders. From our highway superintendent to attend a conference at the Turnstone Casino in September, the 27th and the 28th. Conference is for highway superintendents, and the name, it's called Bridging Connections Through Partnerships. It's put on by the New York State. I'm not even gonna try and pronounce.
Time.
Yeah, and you're presenting, aren't you? You're in here, I would hope. Unless you could have changed your mind, you're up.
State, town, highway super.
Yeah, it's a long acronym, but, so he's put in a travel request that actually includes lodging, but we've set a limit of no lodging within 60 miles, and Turning Stone is only 27 miles, so. It would just be for registration if we decide to omit that line, so it would be $600. So I don't know whether the board is, I mean, we just, as I was talking to Jim about today, we just adopted a travel policy, so I would hate for the first time out to be.
I don't think we should.
Give any thoughts on
So
it?
why he just drives back each day, correct?
Yeah,
Sorry.
Or pays it out of his.
or he pays it out of his pocket.
Yeah,
Now, would he's using the town truck, but if you give him
I
mileage?
think he's traveling with the highway super from Vegas, so I think they're taking that.
I'm just.
Yeah, no,
I
no.
was looking at money wise, are you gonna pay more for mileage? Yeah, that's what I was asking.
Yeah. So I don't know if I should cross off on here the request for lodging and just approve,
Registration.
yeah, which would be a total of 600.
That's good. We talked about it a lot when we were doing that policy.
I know.
I agree.
We need to make a motion to do that, or we can just do it and then,
Motion to approve the bills minus, approve that voucher minus the lodging costs.
okay. It's gonna change. it.
For the town.
So, but what you have is adjusted down to $600 instead of $770. So, I would entertain a motion to approve this travel request.
I'll make a motion to approve the travel request for the highway superintendent. Highway conference.
Okay, second it, okay,
We have to say minus. As amended.
As amended.
As amended.
as amended.
I'll second
Okay. Any other discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay. Just gonna sign this and give it to Nikki. You're gonna join. Thank you. Okay, and then.
it. Modify that one.
No, this one was only including the registration because they hadn't done the lodging yet, so. We'll go and sign that voucher and then we can approve the bills.
Thank you.
So now you want to ask us to? Now we are prepared for payment of the bills as per the abstract, except for.
3:15:53.
Yes, okay. So anybody want to make a motion? Diana makes a motion. to approve the bills.
Second up.
And seconds it. Any other discussion? All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Motion carries. Okay. Everybody got the codes report? Anything? Okay. Let's move on there. I would like, I've been working with NDT Bank, our town's bank, to set up a credit card now that we've got the policy in place. And I'm just waiting to hear back from them to figure out what we need to do. But in the meantime, just so we're ready, I would like to have the town clerk and the highway superintendent be the only two to be issuing credit cards. As they're the only ones that really make many purchases. Would you agree, Jerry? So I would like to make a motion that we designate the town clerk, Nikki Reed, and our highway superintendent VR Way to be authorized users of the credit card when we get it, which hopefully is going to be sometime this month, but I'm not. Second. Seconds it. Discussion, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? That motion is carried. So, we're getting to public comment, and the only thing I would like to say before we to public comment is, we had quite the week in Pompey, this past week with events. And I can't tell you how pleased I am at how those events came off. Without a hitch. Fire Farm Days, the tractor pulls, the rodeo. They were well organized. Traffic was not an issue. Safety was the main concern. And each event, the tractor pulls and the rodeos were sold out. Families and town residents and neighboring towns residents were there. You can agree or disagree with me, but it is a feel-good week in this town. 3 of us volunteered for various events. And it was, there's lots of community spirit that week. And that's something we just don't get a lot of in Pompey is events that bring out the community, but the community comes out this week in August. So it was kudos to how well it came off. Nobody got hurt. And people enjoyed themselves.
What field is on steroids?
It was it was wonderful.
So, and I just want to say, there's a lot of town organizations, not-for-profit organizations this is now their main fundraiser. They make probably more money participating in farm days than any other event that they could have for a fundraiser. So it's also helpful to the town's not-for-profit organizations to, especially when COVID hit and they had no ability to hold fundraisers. So
4-H makes probably 4 or 5 times what they can make in a
Really?
year
Wow.
doing anything else. Great.
well, I could tell that you've been there for probably the full time because your face was so lobster red by Friday evening. I couldn't. James needs to go put some aloe or something on your face.
I parked a lot of cars and I was sad. It was good. And a little bit of sun, a little bit more, too much sun.
Yeah, luckily the weather cooperated. It wasn't too hot. The first year was so hot. Okay. Public comment.
Martha Biglietta, Gibbs Road.
I'm here to talk about solar proposal, the pivot solar proposal. And but I'd start off by climate change, global warming. There are nice comments about the farm days. I'm going to bring everybody right down again. Probably everybody knows July was the hottest month ever recorded worldwide. And I've been reading lately that scientists think it's probably the hottest month that humans have ever experienced because they do sampling of tree rings and coral reefs and sea sediments, ocean sediments to get an idea of what temperatures have been like for the last 120,000 years. They can go back that far, which is about as far as the most modern humans apparently. That's the hottest we've ever had to tolerate as a species. I know that a solar farm in Pompey isn't going to change global warming, but I think we all have the opportunity to do our part in the changes that are happening environmentally in our world. They are accelerating, the changes are accelerating faster than most scientists have predicted. Although Exxon's scientists seem to have nailed the predictions a whole lot better than all the other independent scientists. All along, they've known what was going to happen if we keep on running fossil fuels. So I think that any alternative energy that we build, any low carbon emitting energy system that we build is a step toward decarbonizing our world. That we have to take a lot of those steps. If we don't take them, the fossil fuels system that we have set up is set to continue taking the steps it wants to take. We have to take a lot of steps to counter that. Because the biggest answer is burning less fossil fuels. There's 1,000 answers that we have to work with, but the biggest answer is burn less fossil fuels. So every time we build green energy, we're taking a step toward that. Just about the heat, just realizing that I wrote this down, that hot month that we had. There was one climate scientist from Brown University who was quoted saying, it's scary to remember that in another decade, this year will be the hot. It's scary to remember that in another decade, this year's. If people don't like what they're seeing, a shock at the higher warming, still burning fossil fuels. Part to play, small and large. But for the future that we all hope is thank you.
I'm doing the timings. So I'll give you like a 1 minute warning.
But I know it's hard to hear sometimes more towards us but not talk to the audience, but talk to.
I'm a resident of the village. I'm here tonight to support the proposal. Why I'm here is I don't live in the town of Pompey. This morning I read in the Post Standard that And I went through Long Lake, which times on hiking and camping trips. Out, wiped out bikes. We had parts of Route 81 and closed due to extreme. Previous record locally was set in 19 when almost 2.5 inches of rain fell last night. Usually there's hundredths of a degree. Tenths of a degree Fahrenheit. Climate change is real and it's happening. Sorry. We all. I've attended town. Support solar, but not at this site. Say that they want some solar farms in their community. It seems they always want them somewhere else. Mainly is we've approached 6 solar. One liked it. Or it would were approved as they were good sites, not said the Pledge of Allegiance. Justice means towns share responsibility. Every town needs to. 5 years from now, when the shrub grown up to maturity around this part of the landscape. As the state grandmother's farm in Greene County, where I spent summers as a kid. "15 feet tall. Over time, nature did its thing, and as hard as it sounds today, you can no longer see Route 23 from Grandma's farm. I hope the town of Pompey approves the proposed solar farm. Thank you.
Dan Hofler, 3048 Route 90.
I'm going to defer my comments to Dan McClung. He's speaking for us today.
Okay.
Thank you. Stan Hauk, 7482 Pratt's Falls Road.
To see.
Sorry.
Well, how?
Pat or Hawk?
You took it the middle or the corner? The corner.
The corner of my head.
That's why there's padding on the corners, but
Oh, I have no idea.
Sorry.
I was
sorry.
obviously. Stan Hack, it's a C. That's okay. Yeah, I can't write. I know. Yes. Uh, I was 7482 Crest Falls Road. I also would like to speak on about the Sweet Road stuff. Solar facility. I want to talk about something a little bit different. Now, we all know that we're going to need more and more electricity. In the coming years, we're going from all kinds of different types of energy supply. Applies to electric, getting rid with gas stoves. We're having electric vehicles. We're putting in heat pumps. Just like it's done here. We need more capacity. we really don't want? Capacity.
Go to Grants Falls Road.
Okay.
My name. That's Falls Road. Yours doesn't mean a lot, but. And in those 17 years, that was before the Bright Vibes music. Or the weekly outdoor. That we endure every weekend. As the crow flies from the stage at Heritage Hill. That's how loud the music. Complaints, written complaints. Form, and they couldn't be considered. And then we're told by the code enforcement officer. There's nothing he can do. I chuckle. Of this board. Almost 3 years ago. Many of the same people. Points. About no. Coming from Heritage Hill. Wouldn't work in Pompey. Well, you know what? There are noise. And our friends and neighbors in Kazan. Similar situation. Mentally impacting the surrounding. You figured it out. They got together, they formed a committee, they tell there's never even been a talking about art farm activity. All my neighbors, when I say farm, we know that farming is. Know that we knew that when we bought our houses and sign up for was outdoor music. In November of 2020, Mr. Palladino music. And but he doesn't have the right to make me listen. Why are his rights? No interest in having concerts. Ives concert, overnight concert with camping, 25. Right Vibes has said they permanent venue. Year. A noise ordinance won't work in is wrong. Ruin every weekend. Is wrong. Form a committee. On the committee. An ad hoc committee. A noise ordinance is viable. Figure it out. Thank you.
It bears repeating. To react. Both ways, it goes both ways. Also negative, so can we please?
Marina Artuso.
So I'm Marina Artuso. In 4403 since 1991, so times I actually am a long time to say a few words in favor of so I would like to connect experience. So my located in with my bill, I saving for energy and also CO2 emission saved was 11 of CO2 saved. Oh, I think that I'm doing my little, but there is another element to shop local. So I always buy and I try to favor small shop. I prefer to get my which is residing here. I have studied this proposal as not a gigantic proposal.
environmental impact. Video planting pollinators. I think is really important. So I don't see it is really important to do our little the most sustainable children in our country.
Okay, now you're even, okay?
Debbie Grenier, 2-0.
I asked for a financial audit, and I was told that 2013, and it yielded these and material weaknesses and a financial audit be done again. I did do a FOIA request, and I have it right here if anyone's interested. The town board owes it to. It's just a normal part of doing business. I think. End of July, the town of Hannibal. Stole $850,000. For 5 years, and I just think it. Accounting processes. I don't know why we're allowing people. They're coming and they're taking up our residents' time. I'm really afraid of that. The solar panels, fire stuff. They had to have a state. This was the. Line in Jefferson County. Just. One. Out of town to speak. Wait till the end. I spoke with Tim. Anybody's, let's maybe heard. Anybody. It come from anywhere. Good. Just. I did confirm with Tim that. We have to allow even. Free speech.
Dan McClure, no address.
Dan McClung.
I'm sorry. McClung?
McClung.
Breathing.
Mike. Yep. All right. Talk about considering. So why do I make this? Significant nuisance caused by loud music. Complained regularly, both. And what is happening at the site? Was originally approved by the planning board. During their approval. Place, such as no outdoor music. It could not increase the ambient noise. I asked the planning board. For the past meetings, and I was. To me, this is a pretty clear. And they need to be curtailed. By the planning board to file complaints with the zone. And some form of enforcement would have done so, and we were told that with. So. All activities that fall outside the. Nuisance ordinance. If people were respectful and. But that's not the case. And so, the simple. If the town is unwilling to act. And I truly hope it doesn't come. Stands, the situation is unacceptable. Gotta get it. So. That was prepared by a. Pretty large group of neighbors, and because. Read it. So. In the audience, and there's some people that are. We are here this evening with other residents. To act to stop Mr. Paladino from pursuing activities which. And enjoyment of our properties. He's against Mr. Paladino for private news. And Mr. Paladino for violation.
Before you adjourn the meeting. Resolutions. First resolution is to immediately stop all outdoor our applications to the planning board. Hearing at the next board meeting to on the approval of any non-traditional overlay district and prohibit the issue of farming activities. Third resolution. Committee to review and suggest implementation law. This committee should 2 members from the planning board, 1 Chill, 1 resident whose home is and 2 farm owners owning separate farms. Activity of the town. However, in the state right to farm law, there are safeguards to ensure that peace nature of our town is preserved for all residents. That's the notice that I agreed to read. There you go. Share again. You know, I don't. Together to come up with a reasonable solution. Years. I've talked to Dan Palladino. Sit down and talk to you. Like, let's work together. Oh no, we've come to the town. We've been blown up. Enough's together. The town can be part of the solution. So that's my 2 cents.
Three, 4, Sullivan.
Thank you. Acknowledging and thanking of your time and energy. Serve this. We don't always see eye to eye, but I appreciate what you have. Difficult situations that you have to help sort. Some of the people who've spoken about the solar project are scientists about solar projects. Fire needs looked at through the eye of panels, and with those old panels
do your homework in that. I'm not anymore. A citizen of my children and grandchildren of this planet. Like most of you, my grandchildren that we have enjoyed as we grow up. To the world right now, we know you can't put blinders on and ignore that. I look at this as an analogy. Parents, but your grandparents maybe. The world was in crisis. Stood up. Families, their careers, their family to contribute to the world, which is what we years ago. It isn't as an airplane change, and we must direct a world where I can say to my grandchildren, what did you do when you a little bit? A 22-acre in Compies. But it's a small step in that direction. Nerdy. I looked at how big our town is. Miles. That's 42,500 acres. 22-acre parcel. Percent of the land in this area, in this town. All step, it's a small piece. Climate change 50 years from now. So I ask you to keep those things in consideration.
Thanks, Don.
Good evening, my name is David Angelo. Creek Road. I wanted to talk for a few minutes. And Heritage Hill did for the community. I haven't experienced far away. I don't hear it. Friday, all day, Saturday. Closer, chill. So. My experience was there was music. In fact, I brought my own little speaker because my experiences, and maybe it's the time. I don't know, but I couldn't really hear it that way. In the evening, in the enclosed area, and we have to move closer because my wife and I couldn't hear it. 30 lacrosse families on a Saturday afternoon, just because we couldn't. Different at different times. I don't know. I can't speak to that, but I did want to just share. What I wanted to talk about was family did this weekend. You know, it may have been the first ever rodeo. My kids thought it was cool. Yeah, I thought it was a wonderful event. And everybody had a great time. I don't think you could get any more American than a rodeo. Was awesome. Fried chickens, and it helped to benefit that were there that were able to continue to provide services to our fundraiser that they had at that time. Lot to support a lot of different. And frankly, community, not only to Pompey, but it was a real sense, in my opinion, it was a real sense of community. How many times? And I've lived here 23 years. Families together, smiling, having a great. It was 4 days. I mean, even we had taken safety precautions. I thought it was a great event. Anyhow, to summarize, I wanted to express my appreciation. Palladino, his family, and all. For all of us to live here and in. The long weekend of activities was safe, well organized, and year. It was great to their families, friends, and coworkers.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dave. Now, who broke the rules?
Susan Merritt.
Good evening, my name is. On Brickyard Falls Road. Okay. If we do not start reducing our reliance we will not be able to reverse the ill effect from these. The most obvious climate change. in clean energy that does not harm the environment is part of the solution. It is my understanding that the is from hunting and haying. It will cover 22 acres. With native grasses, flowering, and be used for grazing. The project is important to our request that this board approve.
Thanks, Susan.
Gail Maris.
I live at 4322 Bridge Pompey with my wife Susan, but we rarely 40 years. I think we moved here when we were 12, right? More and more companies and the general population change is a major threat. Systems as well as around the world. It is a long-term our children and grandchildren. Initiatives throughout the country and the world to mitigate the impact. The town of Pompey has an opportunity to lead in the fight against. You as town board members, as well as members of the community, provide alternative solutions. Pivot Energy has responded to those requests and provided alternatives to these concerns. On the Pompey board to approve the Pivot Energy's Tier 3 solar.
Alma Hart.
We are an agricultural. Has been in the town of Pompey for approximately 100. What Deanna and Nick past few days really benefited the town. The nonprofit work. In the music, I again am Dave, I didn't hear hearing devices, which a lot, and usually I cannot talk when there's music to me. This was low key, I could hear. A ball helping people.
It's all.
List of the people who signed up to.
Can I speak? I deferred my time because we.
It was signed up.
Yeah, that was fine. That's a,
But Dan was.
no. Dan,
Well, we part of a statement.
okay, he can handle
I
it.
just wanted to. I just want to respond to these two. Comments about farm days. Meeting with them, talked to him about it. We said to Dan,